So now what we're doing today is so many of you have asked questions around various topics, and whether that be on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook or through emails. And now we have the Value Growth Community. Let me tell you, the Value Growth Academy, Value Growth University, and Mastering Value Growth for Business Owners is pretty fun. And now we're starting to get questions from the community. So if you want to learn more about the value growth, we'll have a link down below this video for you to check out. But you know, so many people ask questions, whether it's when I'm out speaking on stage, people line up and my team there captures those questions, or whether you put it in an email to us through the Financially Simple newsletter, or whether you just comment on one of the social media platforms. So the team grabs all the questions, they compile them, and they have them in a Word document. I see something behind that Mr. Michael behind the camera is fixing to read off. I haven't seen these questions in detail, haven't thought about it, so you're going to get me raw and uncut and trying to answer your questions. So with that, Michael, what do we have, bud?
What are the key factors that a business owner needs to consider when they're entering into the process of scaling their business to maximize the value of their business for a successful sale at 8 or 9 figures?
Let me repeat the question back to make sure I hear you properly. The business owner is asking, what are the key factors they need to consider if they're trying to scale their business for an 8 or 9 figure exit?
Correct.
Correct. Okay. Wow. I mean, we have like literally hundreds of hours of content on that. So key factors. You know, there's so many factors out there we can deal with. Let's deal with some of the most popular. Number one, your business owner needs to remove themselves from the epicenter of the business. I say that consistently over and over. If you want to drive value and you want to scale your practice, you have to build a business where your team can operate it, and it's got to be the golden goose. Period. No questions asked. Mic drop. Leave the stage. I mean, that's it. Number one. Because if you do that, think about this. If you can build the business to where it's owner independent and the company can operate, then you truly have built the golden goose. That means that your product is meeting the right demographic, means your avatar is in alignment, your marketing and your sales departments are just zinging, right? It means that your team is able to navigate through the tumultuous times that every business owner deals with. Your team is able to do that. It means you've trained a rock star team. So I would say that owner independence is number one. Number two is you've got to have a team that is dedicated to go through the transition with you. Because if you're going to exit, as the question asked, if you're going to exit, maybe go into retirement or maybe start another business, then somebody is going to have to maintain that business. If you're getting high value for your company, the buyer, whether that be a private equity firm or another business owner, strategic alliance, whatever it may be, they're going to come in and they're going to say, cool, we'll let you leave and exit, but we're going to need to retain top talent. And because the top talent needs to be there to move forward with the systems and the client, et cetera. They don't want to buy a business and it just fall through. So if you want to build a business that's going to scale, remove yourself from the epicenter of the business and have a team that's dynamic enough that can operate the company autonomously without you. I think those are two key factors. And as we talk about consistently on the podcast, on the YouTube channel, and all of our value growth series, there's tons of things that you can do to actually prop those up, to actually make those 2 points come to fruition. But to me, those are the 2 key points.
Okay, great. This next one's actually...
Why don't you take the microphone off and hold it right in front of you?
Trying to get the...
You just roll it up and put a little ponytail there, make it be like a little barrette. Guys, I'm picking on Michael behind here. He's got a Santa Claus beard, and he's looking over here, and the microphone's over here. So I'm trying to get him to weave in, make it like a little, nice little, it's like a pigtail for your
I'll just
beard.
braid it. And
braid it, and put the microphone right there. I mean, that'd be great, dude.
Okay, so post-COVID, we started running into a lot of supply chain issues.
Yep.
It really brought a lot of problems to light that maybe weren't affecting people before.
Yep.
So we've got a business owner here who wants to know how they can optimize their supply chain to reduce costs and improve reliability for scalability.
I was actually talking with a business owner. Where was I at? Maybe it was in... Anyways, I was out talking. I was speaking somewhere, and I was talking with a business owner. I'll tell you where I was. I was in Texas. I was in Texas speaking at a business owner event, had an opportunity. There were a couple hundred, 200-300 business owners in the event, and this particular business owner was a roofer. Now, if you know anything about the trades, during COVID, many roofers could not get roofing tacks. They needed to nail the shingles down with. They couldn't get the little tabs that's used to separate the plywood on residential houses. They couldn't get those. They could not get the little button tabs that holds down the underlayment on the roof. And so we were talking about supply chain issues, and what this roofer did was very intriguing. First of all, they treated their vendors with respect prior to COVID ever happening. So they weren't trying to nickel and dime the vendors. And so when supply chain disruption happened, because they were, as the old saying said, they were buttering the bread, right? Putting jam on the bread of the suppliers. Whenever that supply chain disruption happened, they were priority number one. The supply house made sure they were equipped because they were pleasant to work with. So there's this attitude that we're going to beat up our vendors over and over and over again over their price, and sometimes that's necessary, but you could do so to your own detriment. And one of the things this roofer was telling me is like, dude, our vendors love us, so we got priority number one. Number two is whenever there was disruption, they didn't stop. They didn't accept no for an answer. They actually began manufacturing using their vendor and another vendor. They began manufacturing the clips that are used to separate the plywood, the button tabs used to nail down the underlayment, and ultimately the roofing tacks that were used in their nail guns. And so they found a solution. They found a way during that supply chain disruption so they could deliver on their promises to their customers. They went in collaboration with their vendor, believe it or not, and now they have a sister company that their vendor and this roofing company own together. I thought it was brilliant. I can remember another story of an individual I consulted with during the pandemic of a restaurant owner. It was a restaurant owner in a rural part of the country, and they were well known. They were very well known, and they delivered this very good food. But because of the closure, they were not able to deliver the food. So instead, they had supplies upon supplies of forks and napkins and plates and various other things. And they turned their restaurant into almost like a mini grocery store for their rural area. So even though the supply chain had hit, they took what they had in inventory and they used it to capitalize. And then they started developing, instead of people coming to their location to buy produce or to buy food, they began doing a delivery method. And now that business, some 3-4 years later, last I heard, is exceptional. They are scaling rapidly because of this delivery method. So, we're going to see supply chain problems consistently. It'll happen again and again at some point within our trades. So to me, it's treat your vendors with respect, look for solutions that are a little out of the norm, work within your parameters, know your market, whether it be rural or urban, work within your parameters to help focus your attention on delivering what you promise your customers and what you promise your community that you'll deliver.
Okay, this one's a little bit advanced. This owner is a little further along in his planning, and he's looking at a exit sooner than later, and he's asking if he should consider mergers and acquisitions as part of his growth strategy, and if so, how does he identify suitable targets?
Yeah, M&A is interesting. It depends on the timing. Right now, M&A is a little tough. I'm still seeing it happen nationally. It's not a bad model. It's not a bad model. So how are you going to deal with it? First thing you're going to look for, in my opinion, if you're a business owner and this is your first time, you're going to want to work with an investment bank or a broker, somebody who's been there, done that, who can help you and guide you. So don't try to do this on your own, friends. You can end up crushing your business. That's number one. Number two, in terms of acquisition, I love strategic alliances. I love buying businesses that complement each other, bringing them into synergy or creating a synergistic style business. So if I were in the shoes and I had reached maturity, again, let me qualify. I had done everything I could do to grow new clientele. I had maturity in my team. I had my business scaling properly. I mean, I look back and I had a good trajectory. Maybe there's even a saturation point within the local market, okay? And now I want to maybe take it up one more notch right before I sell. That I would look for something that is complementary to your current core offering, that your current clients could benefit from, and a business out there that those clients that whom you acquire could benefit from your core offerings of your current business. So create a strategic type of an acquisition. Yeah, it's a great way. Right now, the interest rates are pretty steep in terms of acquisition, but if you believe as I do, now I don't have a crystal ball and I can't promise this, but I believe at some point in the near future we'll see rates come down. It may be where you acquire now, get a good price point, bring the acquisition in, get the integration completed, and then refi or recapitalize that structure upon your exit here within probably a 36-month time frame typically. Once you acquire a business, you need to have a little bit of time for it to mature before you go to the exit. But not a bad way, especially if you're seasoned in business.
What are some of the ways that a business owner can streamline operations to improve efficiency and reduce costs without compromising quality?
While at the same time driving up value, I assume.
Yes.
Oh, okay, cool. So whenever we talk about, let's qualify our terms. When we talk about operations, we're talking about the workflows, the throughput, the process, the procedure, whatever you want to call it, that allows the company to deliver on the promises that were made by the sales and marketing department while still retaining the client and making sure that QC is there, quality control is there. Whenever I talk about operations, it's everything that's in the delivery mechanism of the company. So how do we create efficiency? It's a very arduous task. Now, cool thing is now you can use AI to actually still help you with this task, but nonetheless, it's still arduous. The way that I like to approach it is I like to first start out by highlighting the what I call throughput. Eliad Goldrat wrote a book called The Goal, which was really cool with the manufacturing segment some years back. I mean, it's been around forever, but he talks about throughput in a context that, to me, in my simple mind, especially dealing with the service industry, is how do I deliver my product and services without bottlenecks? Okay. So to me, I want to write kind of like a wireframe of what are the major milestones along the operational process that the client needs to experience. So it's always client-centric in my opinion. Now, holding up the client centrality are things like HR or payroll, employee benefits, various things along the way. So as you begin looking at the milestones that a client needs to, or your customer needs to experience, then you're going to begin writing down, taking each major point and diving down to the nitty gritty, to the, as I say, the gnat's ass, son. You're gonna drop it all the way down to the ground level. So often we often talk about the 50,000 foot view. Like if you're in an airplane at 30 to 50,000 foot and you look down versus walking on the ground versus laying on the ground, looking down at the granular level. To add efficiency, you have to granularize. You have to get every step within your company and break it down to crystal clear action items. Who is responsible? What is the deliverable? What is the quality outcome? And how, more importantly, does it fit into the overarching client meta narrative? How does it fit into the client experience? So now, if we understand what operations are, how do we drive efficiency? Efficiency is by creating a list, processes, workflows, detailed outlines for every step within your company. Once that's accomplished, what will inevitably happen is you will find the bottlenecks. You'll find the areas that you are inefficient in. I remember years ago, there was a client that delivered, he was a welding company. He would do welding. And we went through the processes. We wrote all the processes out. He had a person that he hired in specifically, not a bad idea, to help them through the processes. By the way, I did that within my own company. I hired an individual who was very talented to help me identify the processes and gave them the responsibility of going down to the ground level. It worked brilliantly. But this welding company, we did everything. The person was very good at writing out all the different workflows and processes down to where every person knew exactly what they needed. And it came to, there was a bottleneck in this company that kept costing them value by losing revenue. And it came down to a supply chain issue, almost like the last question we had, to where they were not able to get the welding rods. And it wasn't they weren't able to get the welding rods when they needed it, they weren't ordering them rapidly enough. They weren't resupplying their inventory rapidly enough for the pit demand. They would have never seen that had they not gone through the operational detailing that takes time. Now, cool thing is right now we have AI. You could take your company, you could write out your 4, 5, 6 major points that you want your client to experience, and you could use AI as simple as, hey, I believe this client should have this particular moment. Maybe it's signing of the contract. What are all the things that I need to consider for this client in signing the contract? Have AI generate it for you. It may generate things that you're accustomed to or that you're already taking care of, or it may identify some areas that you're just not working proficiently in right now. So if you want to drive operational efficiency, get granular. If you want to increase efficiency and value, get granular. The more granular you are, the more exposure you have to what the bottlenecks are of your throughput and what's ultimately decreasing the value of your company.
You mentioned through that process remaining very client-centric.
Yeah.
So that's a good segue into the next question, which is how can I enhance my customer retention strategies to ensure long-term loyalty and repeat business?
That's a great question. How do you enhance your customer retention strategy? So whenever I hear retention, it means that customers are coming in and they're not staying. First thing we have to look at is, do you have the right avatar? Are you targeting the right person for your offering? So many times, friends, so many times. And I teach this in Value Growth University. And ultimately, whenever we begin our private client or mastering, which is our small group workshop type of a structure, whenever we begin diving into problems of business, it can almost point back to one of the issues being a unclear avatar. So if you have a retention issue, it may be that you have the wrong avatar. It may be that your product that you're trying to sell is not designed for the people that you're trying to sell it to. We have to first start with that. But if you have the right avatar and you're trying to create retention, ultimately what you're trying to do is turn your customers into raving fans. It's not hard to turn people into raving fans. Tell them what you're going to do what you say you're going to do, and over deliver on what you told them you're going to do. It's like when you go to church, man. You go to church and the preacher's going to tell you what he's going to tell you. He told you what he told you, and then he's going to repeat what he told you. Like we take an hour-long sermon, you can crunch it down in like 15 minutes. The same is true for us business owners. You have to know who your avatar is. You have to know exactly what you're telling them you're going to deliver, and then you over-deliver. In doing so, friends, you create raving fans every single day of the week.
All right, so that brings us to our last question of the week. And one of the things that I love when I'm going through all of our YouTube channel and social media is seeing the interactions from business owners of all walks of life at all different stages of their business. And when you look at our value growth series, there really is something for everybody.
Yeah.
And so we've got a new business owner. He's just starting out, and he wants to know if you could suggest some books to read for starting a single person business.
Yep.
As an engineer or consultant with less experience.
Okay.
And then also for believing in oneself throughout the journey to achieve massive success.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool. So I'm going from shooting from the hips here, so I'm going to separate those. So let's talk about first. You may have to remind me, Michael, the second part of the question. Sure. So first, we're going to talk about books that are for business owners first starting out. Okay. And there, you said there's solopreneurs. Did I hear you?
Yes.
Solopreneurs.
Specifically engineering and consulting.
Donald Miller has a book called The Coach. I'm going from memory. I think it's an orange book called The Coach. And in that book, if you're consulting, he does a great job at talking about how your website should look, how your emails should look, what your offering is, etc. Donald Miller does a great job on that. It's called The Coach. If you're a solopreneur and you're in consulting, I would lean there. As far as engineering, I'm not an engineer, so I can't answer engineering specific questions. I would be remiss there. Another book, even though you're talking about solopreneur, another book you want to look at, I believe it's a cornerstone of any business, is Michael Gerber's book, E-Myth. Now, I realize he's talking about Sarah who bakes pies, and Sarah finds herself doing so many things. But ultimately in that book, he hits the heart of the matter of long term, do you want to be all three? Do you want to be the entrepreneur, the manager, and the technician? Or do you want to remain the technician? Do you want to be the investor? Not a bad book to look at. Russell Brunson has a series of books, and they are powerful. It's all about funneling. If you're going to be a solopreneur, you're going to have this particular problem. You're going to have to go out and gain your clients. So it's going to be like an ocean wave, and you're going to have to do the work. And whenever you go to gain your clients, you're going to have one hat that you have to wear, and you have to do the work. You have to be the technician, do the actual work. And what you're going to see is you're going to see an activity of lead generation or business development, and you're going to see yourself doing the work. Then you come back to business development, and you're doing the work. If you could read any of Russell Brunson's books on how to create a autonomous marketing program, it will help you shorten the wave cycle. You may need to spend a quarter of your time actually building an automation system to fill your funnel automatically. He uses a program called ClickFunnels. He's the founder of ClickFunnels. Powerful tool. But he has 4 books, I think. One's called .com Secrets. I think it's 4 books, and I can see all the colors on the shelf. I can't remember all the names, but if you look at Russell Brunson, there's 4 books there on how to create a funnel. So I think those are some areas I would look at. From a solopreneur, your challenge is you have to be all things to all people. You've got to be the technician. You got to be the marketing person. I'll go a step further. Now, I like this book, but please don't take offense to it. The Idiot's Guide to Taxes. The Idiot's Guide to Taxes is crazy cool. Crazy cool. It actually talks about how you can position your life and your business to not give all your hard-earned work to the government. Not a bad book. Mark Kohler has a book called Your CPA is Lying to You. Great book from an accounting's perspective. So if you're going to be a solopreneur, you're going to have to handle all 8 areas of the wheel, and you almost need a book for each area. Now, what's interesting, inside our Value Growth University, I actually have my preferred reading list for all 8 segments, and I think there's 25 to 50 books that I've read that I would endorse that could change your life. And I think we have some of those on Financially Simple as well. So if you're talking about the consulting side of things and you have to be all things to all people, you kind of segment your life around those 8 areas. I think the second thing was, how do you stay encouraged? Let people who have been there, done that, who are motivational, let them speak in your life through YouTube or through books like we've mentioned here. And man, I firmly believe that God's created you, whoever you are, God's created you for something unique. And I believe with all my heart that if you're asking this question on how you're going to get your business started in engineering or consulting, that God's laid something in your life that you had the foresight to say, hey man, what do you think? I can only wait to see what you're gonna accomplish. I hope you don't become a stranger. Maybe leave me a chat in the future and say, hey, Goodbread, appreciate the advice. Here's where I'm at in business. Maybe one day we'll have the opportunity to talk. So friends, as always, thank you for your questions. I know we have more questions coming up. If you have particular questions that you want to see if I can answer or try to stump me, or you say, hey, Goodbread, I would like to have your opinion on this one. Hey, drop us a comment in YouTube. Go to YouTube, drop us a comment on this particular video, and we'll see if I can answer your question. Until next time, hey, y'all go out and make it a great day. It's not going to happen unless you make it.